Well, we respectfully acknowledge that we are meeting on the traditional and ancestral lands of the Coast Salish people, where we live, learn, and play. Before we adopt the agenda, folks, I would like you to add in 7.3.1, and that is spelling of Cowichan Secondary Replacement School. You. So may I get a mover, please, to the amended agenda? Moved by Trustee Lise, seconded by Trustee Dillman. All those in favor? Minutes of the February 7th, 2023 open board meeting that the Board of Education of School District 79 Cowichan Valley adopts the minutes of the February 7th, 2023 open board meeting moved by Trustee Dillman, seconded by Trustee Croft. All those in favor? Thank you. Minutes of the February 21st special open board meeting that the Board of Education of School District 79 adopts the minutes from the February 21st, 2023 special open board meeting moved by Trustee Dominus, seconded by Trustee Lise. All those in favor? Thank you. Recognitions and delegations. So Rotary readers. So we have Ellie with us tonight, and I have something I'd like to read, and that's that the Board of Education would like to recognize Ellie and the Rotary readers for joining us tonight. Ellie worked with our district to organize more than 10 Rotary readers that are reading to children in many of our elementary schools. Our Rotary readers met with the district staff to discuss strategies to incorporate important components of literacy development, including rich vocabulary, fluency, and comprehension. The Rotary readers are supporting literacy in our schools by modeling and sharing a love of reading. Teachers and school administrators have expressed great appreciation for this partnership. So a big thank you again to Ellie and the Rotary readers for the gift of time that they are sharing with our learners. The board is pleased to recognize Ellie with a token.
Thank you so much. Yes, that's awesome.
Awesome. That's great. Thank you. It's been a pleasure, and it's an ongoing agenda with the schools in the school district. And it's really, really enjoyable. We had the meeting last week. She is one of our Rotary readers from the Rotary Club. We have, I believe, 12 or 13 Rotary readers. And we had a meeting last week at Brenda Lee, and it was great. We talked about experiences that we've had at the various schools. I'm over on Theta Science. So we plan to make this a bigger and better. Thank you very much. And we have to depart now. You can stay. I'm going to Thailand. I love Rotary readers. Yeah, so.
Next recognition is, our next delegation is the Cowichan Valley Arts Council, and they're coming in via Zoom to present to us this evening. welcome, Janet. Just a reminder that you have 10 minutes for your presentation, and then the board will ask you questions after that. So you can start whenever you're ready.
Sorry, I've been talking, not realizing I was muted. So there we go. I'm Janet Magdans, and I would like to introduce Alka Cole, who is our education coordinator. She's with me this evening as well. We wanted to come tonight because we wanted to share our passion for arts and how important we feel it is for the education of kids. And we wanted to share with you what we do at the Arts Council so that perhaps we can find new partnerships and continue to partner with you. So we have been in business since 1971 so it's our 43rd year in the community, and each year it keeps getting better and better. This picture was just done by my managing director as an April Fool's joke because of the giant hockey stick. She thought it would be very appropriate to have a giant paint palette on the other side of the building. So for our update from 2022, as we started originally in the community center, we are on James Street in the community center with a thin little gallery that was called Portals. We now have this large gallery space and a studio. We have over 13,000 visitors in 2022. So we have a space for artists to come and spaces for classes to happen as well. If we have a larger show, we can put it in all three spaces, the annex, the gallery, and the studio, or we can hold up to 3 individual shows at a time. So this is our big show of the year. It's our Fine Arts Show. This is from 2022. The Fine Arts Show this year is running from May 5th to June 2nd, I believe. So if you want to experience some really great art, this would be a place to come. We have 140 artists, each donate who bring in one piece. And in that, we also have special events. We have a tea. We have this is our opening. We also have a really fun event called the Art Attack, which brings 10 different painters together, and they compete to music and in certain time frames. It's actually quite a lot of fun. In it, we also have artist demos and special student tours who come and see the show. Oh dear, what have I done? I stopped sharing. Sorry. Okay. So this is a sample of the winner of last year's Fine Arts Show and our Art Attack and our musicians who play at various times. We have all kinds of shows to challenge thinking and to challenge how people look at the world. We had last year a Truth and Reconciliation show. We also had the Watershed show, which brought people information on how our 3 watersheds in the Cowichan Valley are used best and how best to continue keeping them healthy. We had different presentations online, and we had the show itself. We also have member shows, and we rent the space. As well as just doing art shows, which is great, we also do plein air painting sessions. We've been known for drum making, mask carving, and for discussion groups. We also have youth drop-in times that for our studio time. Because of the beautiful space we have, we've also been able to do some upgrades. We've got some new flooring and lighting, which creates quite a professional looking space within our gallery. Well, this is our studio. You can see we have youth and family events. It offers additional gallery space, as I said before, and there's regular classes. It brings art to a large variety of groups. Some of our outreach events, we're always looking for ways to work with community and offer experiences with art, such as our Breath of Art, which is our market where we shut down Station Street, one block of Station Street last year, and worked with the Downtown Business Association. And this year we're upgrading it to two blocks. We also had this year our first studio tour where artists opened their studios, and a map was provided to allow people to come and experience art at their leisure. I'm going to turn the slideshow over to Elka now, who as our education coordinator works a lot with our youth.
Good afternoon, everyone. I will ask you, Janet, to forward the show when it's time. So I'm new in this position. I've started in October, so I have slowly and surely been working my way into the world of this particular organization, but also into the community and understanding who is doing what. And I'm still very much working towards understanding where we can serve in addition to what others are offering, rather than going into competition with people. Especially, I've been talking with teachers and I've visited several schools to see what is it that might add to what is being offered to students. And so we're looking at creating further programming in the next school year. For this school year, we're kind of slowing down. We have a big show right now, and I think that's the next slide, perhaps.
Oh, this is
just a background slide. Let's go right. There we go. This is the show that's currently on display, and I invite you all, and I believe you've been invited before, to come and have a look at this. It's really worthwhile. There's a lot of young talent in our region, and we had a good uptake on this one, partly because I did go and speak to school classes about this show. So building relationships seems to be an important piece for me, and this is what I will continue to do. We're looking for ways that different groups will use the studio as a space, and whether that is groups from different marginal communities that are in place where service organizations are doing a really good job supporting them. They could use this space for an art event or an art class on a regular basis. And I'm thinking similarly with the school district and the schools, and perhaps people in schools who are not enrolled in arts classes, but would like to do some art just the same without having to be graded or having to show up to class, which is a different feeling than if you're just going into an open thing. However, our open studio right now is not running, in case you just heard that. We're going to be changing the timing on that, so we're working on planning. I'm hoping that this makes sense. We're about to run spring break camps. Both are full, so we're going to have 30 children going through here for the 2 weeks, and then in the summertime there will be 6 consecutive summer camps, also all around the arts with different age groups and different topics. And this is going to keep us and our incoming staff for that definitely busy and having fun. And I hope all the children will be really benefiting as well. Janet, back to you.
Thank you, Elka. So lastly, I just wanted to show you how important volunteers are in building the community. We have a very active volunteer base who serve as docents and on our committees and doing phone trees.
And just to let you know, you have 2 minutes.
Well, that's perfect, because I just wanted to thank you for the opportunity to present to you today and the support and your support of the arts. So I think we would just take questions now. So thank you so much.
Any questions for the Arts Council? Trustee Strachan?
Yeah, hello there. My name's Jennifer, and one of the schools with which I'm partnered as a trustee are going to be undertaking a mural at the school this year. So I'm wondering, would you as a council have interest of coming in and working with the kids to put that mural up so that it's, their vision, but you would assist with putting it together? Is that something you might do?
So if I heard you correctly, there's a mural being is it still in planning?
It's in planning, yeah.
Okay. And are we interested? Your voice comes through a little bit warped, so this is why I'm repeating hopefully what you said.
Yeah.
So you're looking for support from us to pull this off, basically, to put it on the wall.
Yeah, to potentially come in with the kids and the teachers to make the mural come into being.
I'm more than happy to discuss that with you. So you can reach me through the education at Cowichan Valley Arts Council email, and then we can talk about that.
Okay, awesome.
I didn't catch which school you're in.
It's Mont Prevost. It's
Okay.
it's a legacy gift for the grade 7s.
Yes,
Mhm.
okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'd be happy to speak with you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Eduardo Souza here, trustee as well. Fantastic programming. Thank you so much for the work you do in the community and across the valley. A question around the camps for like spring break and then in the summer. It's clearly too late this year, but I'm wondering, and thinking ahead for next year, what's the best way to kind of receive the information so that we could, through our various networks, let one of the individual schools are liaising with, or more just broadly in terms of, what's the best way to kind of share information on your programming?
These all the camps are publicized through the recreation guide from the CVRD.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And we also put them on our website, but the registration is running through them.
Mhm. If you wanted to forward to us an email of someone we could contact as well, then we could send any programming things happening to that person, and they could maybe disseminate it amongst the division.
Any other questions from the trustees? None. Thank you so much. I'm a huge visual and performing arts supporter, so I really appreciated this presentation tonight, and thank you very much for taking your time to share this information with the board.
Thank you so much. Appreciate the time.
Right, next we have,
Sorry to interrupt you. I just want, just for transparency's sake, I actually have accepted the position as managing director of the Cowichan Valley Arts Council as of March 20th. So I just you're not telling you something.
thank you, Trustee Crow. And now we have a delegation from Cowichan Valley International Women's Day Festival. Gail. Welcome, Gail, 10 minutes, and then we'll ask you all the questions.
No worries. So here's some postcards that we recently had printed. They just came out yesterday. The Cowichan Valley, International Women's Day has existed since 1909, and it has existed in various forms over that period of time. When I moved to the Cowichan Valley, I was moved to volunteer to do some graphic design for the International Women's Day thing that was happening at the time, but my dear friend Helga here, part of the former Cowichan Spirit of Women, or the existing Cowichan Spirit of Women, they had decided they were going to lay that down. And it was a year in which that could not be allowed to happen. So I was told I would get support to put this together if I came up with a 5-year plan and a commitment to put it together. So the purpose of the festival as it was created was to create a physical platform once a year to put women onto, the youngest women and the oldest, most experienced women. People who had already behind them a great deal to share with the community, and those who needed to be there on stage with them to pass the torch. We really reached that in 2020. The goal in 2022 was to celebrate Buffy Sainte-Marie's birthday actually at the CBAC. Working on that. But, you know, we went into the 2020 festival thinking about who will be our speakers. And we were looking for, like, who's a prominent local woman politician? We were, oh, do you realize that there are 50% women elected in the Cowichan Valley with absolutely no affirmative action campaign having been declared? And so it became a year of leadership where we celebrated the women who were elected in the Cowichan Valley and made them walk across the stage and stand and just be quiet while we applauded them and handed them each a gift. And at that, we had a speaker, well, not a speaker, a presenter whose words were spoken by her daughter, who was 100 years old, and her granddaughter, and another young woman from Cowichan tribes, Eva, who spoke about the work that they had been doing as youth. Going into the pandemic, we were unable to have public meetings, of course, and doubly so because I was leading COVID Action Cowichan. So it would have been very off-brand, to say the least. So we came up with the concept of doing, you know, of course we had to do something on Zoom, but how could we give it power? How could we make it actually ring out? So we commissioned some poets to write some poetry of support to the essential workers. And we had an event where Audrey George of the seniors home over by Cowichan tribes, names that I've still not mastered, spoke and was recognized and acknowledged. And these poems, The Essential and this excerpt from Carla Stein's piece, were read to her as the representative of all essential workers. Interestingly, the year before, as we were doing the presentation for leadership, we were thinking about what should be the next year. And the song, She Works Hard for the Money, was already ringing in our ears. And we had already determined that the following year, we were going to celebrate the people who we ended up celebrating anyway, because it was proven. And we were the last public event in Cowichan Valley, right before everything got locked down. So it was really quite an accelerated experience. I would like to get International Women's Day Festival into the schools. When I set out to do this, my 5-year plan said that by the year, I've got it in front of me. We actually kind of reached it in 2020. We had 30 events, 28 events over 31 days, sponsored by 21 different organizations or something of that nature. Films, music, written word stuff. I have wanted to get, before I started doing this, I wanted to create something like the Love Project, where youth were given cameras and sent out into the community to document their communities. I wanted to do something like that with zines. And I still have a heart for that. So I would love to see this go into the schools and have the kids invited to create their own content, to create poetry, and we will find money to publish it. I have an idea for a play, Allure, to be performed with mostly, you know, multimedia kind of presentation. So you'll see kind of how stuff happens in text and showing the story of women being lured, young women being lured from their homes by predators, and how they deal with that with their friends, and how we can show that without making them speak the words, by putting it up on screen and making it more of the broader experience. And I have never had time to write up the concept in full, but I think it would be a brilliant idea to take it to students and have them help create this piece like kids have created Red, and make that something that they bring into the community, and maybe they are part of some big presentation that happens on stage at International Women's Day at Charles Floyd Park, or it's a central that happens at the CPAC, and they get to be on stage and they build this thing and they become leaders, and the valley gets that, you know,
another thing for a new generation to speak out on and to exercise their voices. And, you know, that you can give me a piece of paper with 3 photographs on it and I can talk for an hour, no problem. Okay, and that is a skill that everyone should have the opportunity to develop. And so I exist here to build a platform to put other women on to speak. And with a focus really, most of the time, as we try to do most of the time, every time a speaker category is presented, is there a First Nations woman? Is there a local woman a woman of local Chinese descent? Is there a woman of local Black descent? Is there a person of color that could represent this first? And then we look to the white chicks, right? And is there, who is the youngest person who could speak about this? And give them that opportunity to speak in front of 100 people, mostly pretty friendly local folks who are gonna, you know, like say, oh, that's so cute, look at that, that is Eva's daughter up there right now. Do you remember when Eva spoke? And then they can go out into the world and bring Cowichan Valley out, and they can come back to the cave later and, you know, after apprehending the good, and express it out to their community. And that is what I would like to see go into the schools. I would love to have this most recent card which we made, which has reproductive health resources that are really important to know about and have access to, and a poem that expresses choice in a non-confrontational, very easy to digest format, and make it part of the life.
Trustee Lee.
Actually, I don't have a question, but I have a comment. And Helga, I'm looking at you, my dear, and I believe that you were one of my teachers. So I would just like to come and say thank you for being a powerful woman in my life. And here we are. It's lovely to see you. Lovely to see you. Thank you.
I got on a roll and I forgot to acknowledge also Vicki Miller here, who has been with it since really the beginning and has been a core part of the team, and who took care of this stuff when I moved and I wasn't sure where it was going to be. So, trustees, any other comments or questions? I'd actually like to say that I sit with Helga. I used to sit with Helga on Friends of the Cowichan Theater. Hi, Helga. Nice to see you, my love.
So hard to have you in contact again. You're the chief.
I've missed you. Trustee Croft, did you have your hand up?
Oh, yeah, I just wanted to say I really appreciate that a lot of your ideas and initiatives, they're inclusive, but you've inspired them with some really creative ideas and things that maybe we haven't heard before. And I think that always reminds people how important these matters are and how deeply they reside in us. So that's a compliment. I want to say thank you for doing that.
Any other comments or questions, trustees? Thank you. Thank you for bringing this passionate presentation to us tonight and for asking us to look at celebrating this in our schools. And we appreciate your notes and your time this evening. And thank you to all for coming. Thank you, Vicki. All right. Moving on to 5.1, report of closed meeting, please. Secretary Treasurer.
Thank you. The board met in closed session just prior to this open session. There were personnel items, contracts, and property items discussed.
So 6.1. Oh, we don't have one. Yay. Only have one.
So on the screen is the action list. There's one item, and that is policy 1 foundational statements. It's our hope to have the updated policy for the next BEC meeting in March.
Thank you, Secretary Treasurer. Moving on to 7.1.1. Introduction of the Associate Secretary Treasurer, Claudia.
All right, well, thank you very much. And I introduce Claudia McMahon. She's in our audience this evening. Claudia started on February the 16th, and she worked with Erin Eglund as she transitioned into the new role as of February the 27th. She brings a wealth of experience from the municipal government and financial regulation sectors. In her past roles, she has been the manager of financial services and utilities at the City of Duncan, as well as senior regulatory specialist at the BC Utilities Commission, among others. So Claudia, go ahead. Wave your hand and stand up. Welcome to you. Next, I'd also like to introduce, if I could, 7.1.2. We have in our audience Carrie Bainbridge. Raise your hand there, Carrie. So Carrie's been with us for over a decade, in fact, probably even a little bit longer than that. She has worked in our accounting department and also in our budget and payroll department. She's been with us a long time, and we look forward to her being part of our team. And so we welcome Carrie into her new role as a coordinator of human resources and accounting. Congratulations. And I know, Carrie, that if any time that you'd like to exit, you certainly can. And Claudia has to stay, so there we go. So moving on to 7.1.3, we have a principal and vice principal transfer process in place for 2023 and 2024. There have been many discussions that have been put in place for principals and vice principals, and there will be some announcements at the end of April with regard to some of the reassignments and maybe some of the new vice principals and principals who have been assigned to different schools. So that will be forthcoming. All right, I'm going to move on, if it's okay with no questions, to 7.2.1. In your package under page 15, you are going to see the 2023 graduation and district year end. It's attached in there. You will see that the date of the district retirement event was confirmed earlier as of June the 12th. And new news, it will be held in person this year at Arbutus Ridge. So we're looking forward to that district event. So please take note of that and put some of those events maybe in your calendars, especially for those trustees who are assigned schools with regard to the scholarship celebrations, the year end, as well as commencement and graduation ceremonies. I'm going to move on to 7.2.1, district scholarship presentations. Just a reminder to all of you that on February the 13th, there was a memo from the director and district vice principal of inclusive learning, inviting all of the trustees to be guest judges at our secondary schools district scholarship presentation. Judging this year may differ between schools as it allows schools to use a process that works for their specific students. So it's not on one given day, it's over multiple days. So it may be quite challenging for some of you, but we are giving them the month of May as a window for presentations. So similar to last year, trustees will be the only invited guest judges. Please advise by March 31st if you are interested in participating in judging this year and which secondary schools you are most interested in.
Yeah. Trustees, this is probably one of the best gifts that we have, to see all students of different calibers from different backgrounds coming out and being their honest with yourselves. And if you want to see something and witness something, it's district scholarship. So I would highly suggest if you can make something, just sign up for it. It's something that I've done for many, many, many years with associate Cheryl Kurz, and I love it, and I will continue to love it. And so I just really suggest that you look into it.
Moving on to 7.2.3. Attached is the school calendar of 2023-2024. We now have further details regarding the observance of the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. On February 7th, the BC government announced that September 30th will be declared a provincial statutory holiday. Although schools have observed this day the past 2 years, the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation will be enshrined in BC law to give more people a chance to honor the strength and resilience of residential school survivors and remember the children who never came home. In 2023, the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation falls on a Saturday in accordance with local contract language and to align with BC government and federal government. We will be observing the day on Monday, October 2nd, and have adjusted the school calendar to reflect that. Also, note that the dates for the 2024 Teacher Professional Development Days are still subject to confirmation by our local unions at their spring annual general meeting. And so those will be finalized after that, and they will be put in the calendar. So just new information to the board. Moving on to 7.2.4, which I'm sure will be appreciated by somebody in our gallery this evening. We want to talk about International Women's Day, which is March the 8th. And that's as soon as tomorrow. It's a global day celebrating the social, economic, cultural, and political achievements of women. The day also marks a call to action for accelerating women's equality. The Government of Canada's theme for this day is Every Woman Counts. A reminder that all women from all ages and walks of life have a place in every aspect of Canadian society. The United Nations observance of International Day under the theme Digital Innovation and Technology for Gender Equality recognizes and celebrates the women and girls who are championing the advancement of transformative technology and digital education. The observance will explore the impact of digital gender gap on widening economic and social inequalities, and it will also spotlight the importance of protecting rights of women and girls in digital spaces and addressing online and gender-based violence.
Yes, thank you. Thinking about Gail's presentation, thank you for that, Gail. I'm just wondering, and building a little bit on that, some of the wonderful ideas Gail had, and thinking about next year's International Women's Day, like how can we mark this day in the schools in a more sort of robust sort of way? I think that we're marking it here, but just how to go about doing that? Because I think now more than ever, it's important. Sadly, I have to say that we're still in a situation societally and civilizationally that things are still, big problems out there. So I just would love to see some kind of program in the schools.
We, the board, let the superintendent know that's a priority.
Okay. Where the future.
I think that message dramatically.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think just in response to that, I think that we have staff here, we've heard it, and we know that something that we need to support and celebrate and offer opportunities for our principals and our vice principals at the school site to recognize that our board believes in this, and this is something that we would like to promote and provide opportunities for our learners in those areas. Okay, the superintendent's update. This is usually long, okay, and I have a few photos, but I'll let Mr. Sanquist know when I'd like to bring the photos forward. So firstly, I'd like to acknowledge our District Principal of Instruction and Innovation, Glenn Posey, and District Tech Support Teacher, Lisa Reed, for their outstanding leadership in the multi-year Vancouver Island Learning Network. Recently, over 130 educators, including Mike Russell, from school districts across Vancouver Island, including 40 educators from our district, as well as students from VIU, were able to gather in person in Nanaimo to the return of this event. This year's gathering featured keynote speeches from Dr. Sean Lenny and Susan Crichton, as well as desert-themed digital escape room and ample time to learn and explore applied design, health, and technology curriculum of the collective. And so I know it's something that our district principal, Glenn Posey, initiated, started, continues forward. And I know that the last couple of years it hasn't been held in person, but now it's even gathering more momentum. And here we are again doing that same event every year. So very impressed with that work and his leadership. Also a big thank you to Transportation and Operations. Our bus drivers did a great job transporting students to and from school safely during the icy mornings and afternoons. And we've had a number of those this year. And also operations staff were preparing schools for staff and students following the February 28th closure day due to snow and inclement weather. And so we really want to share our appreciation for operations around that work that they do every day. Keeping in mind that 50% of our students are bused on a regular basis, or sorry, on a daily basis. So Shout out to them. Also, I want to review the Skill Regionals update. Over 30 of our students competed at the Skill Regionals on February 22nd at VIU Nanaimo. Cowichan Valley students took home many awards and prizes, and here were the medal winners. Okay. Tayden Ross received gold in carpentry from Cowichan Secondary. Tobin McClarty received silver in carpentry from Chemainus Secondary. Cynthia Berry received gold in culinary arts, Cowichan Secondary. Florencia Brand received silver in culinary at Francis Kelsey. Hiraki Ikimura received gold in cabinet making, Cowichan Secondary. Taya Clark received silver in hairstylist, Cowichan Secondary. And Jackson Manuel Mills received bronze in welding from Cowichan Secondary. So hopefully some of you recognize some of those names. The gold medal winners from regionals advanced to the provincials in Abbotsford on April the 19th, and the gold medal winners at the provincials will advance to nationals in Winnipeg, Manitoba, May 25th and 26th. And if they are so lucky and are gold medal winners at the nationals, and they will advance to the World Skills in 2024 in Lyon, France. So we wish all of our local winners well. They might be one of those, or two or three. Next, we have a Catalyst update, and that is our program for many students across this district. And as soon as tomorrow, we have a district chess tournament that's being held at George Bonner Elementary from 8:30 to 2. There are 3 categories, more of a primary grades, intermediate grades, and grades 8 to 12. It'll be a whole day event with the school eligible to bring 2 students per category. So I know all of you were invited. We're extending an invitation to drop by at any time, and just Claire can send you the details. We can meet them if you'd like to stop by. Young Authors, which is still part of the Catalyst program. The 18th biannual Young Authors Conference will be held at Vancouver Island University on May this year. The conference is open to approximately 100 students in the district from grades 5 to 12. Students in grades 5 to 9 will have an opportunity to attend 2 sessions with 2 published authors. In these sessions, the authors will comment on the students' writing and also lead some writing activities. And the grade 10 to 12 students will attend an in-depth full-day seminar with one author. You're also welcome to go to the Young Authors Conference. Again, that's if you're interested in going. Okay. And now we have some photos in some of our areas. And so Pink Shirt Day. Yeah. Maybe just a tad bigger than Church. So it's nice to look at all the So we had Pink Shirt Day, which is our anti-bullying day, which was held on February 22nd. And just so everyone knows, we do support anti-bullying on every day of the school year, but this is a day that really marks it across our province. I'm sharing some of the photo days here. Sorry, are Drinkwater Elementary and Ecole Mont Prevost. Okay. And here, the next couple of photos, we have the Cowichan Musical Festival. The Bench Grade 3 and Intermediate Choir, led by Miss Angela McLean, performed at the Cowichan Musical Festival. Part of the 2 choirs. The adjudicators had overwhelmingly positive comments about the performance, and they won the choir award at the festival. The award was presented at the gala on Sunday, March 5th. Big congratulations to our bench choir. The Tanzer Intermediate Choir consists of students in grades 4 to 7 and is led by choir teacher Christina Taylor. They sang 2 songs at the Cowichan Music Festival and Pass It Along. It was an incredible experience for the students to sing on the stage in the Cowichan Theatre. As for quite a few of them, it was the first time even being in the theatre at all. The adjudicator was supportive, encouraging, kind, and constructive. On March 5th at the Festival Gala Concert, they were awarded the Duncan Volunteer Fire Department Award for school choirs, which was for $100. 2 Tanzer choir members, Brooklyn and Everly Gallivan, were there to accept the award on the choir's behalf. Congratulations to the Tanzer Intermediate Choir. And the next couple of photos, Ecole Mont Prevost, La Carnival, January 30th to February the 3rd. During this week of January 30th to February the 3rd, the children, parents, and staff of Ecole Mont Prevost celebrate the spirit of Carnival at the school. Highlights include a floor hockey tournament, relay races, a waffle and maple syrup breakfast, compliments of Nourish Cowichan, festival mass making, a visit from the Cowichan Valley Capitals Junior A Hockey Club, who played a match versus the grade 7s, daily visits from Bonhomme, a day of snow, and it all culminated with a mask and mustache parade with festive attire. And next is the Cold Cobble Hill. Their carnival was February 6th to the 10th. They celebrated during that week from the crowning of the Carnival King and Queen on Monday to the Carnival Parade on Friday. The entire week was filled with fun events to help celebrate French Canadian culture. Highlights of this event: opening ceremonies crowning the King and Queen of Carnival with the mascot Bonhomme in attendance. An Art Starts bilingual production, a French film festival, Carnival-themed races in the gym, canoe races, benches on rolling carts, Métis dances from Métis Society, teaching students traditional dances, closing ceremonies, and a parade. See all the fun that they were having over there. And then we'll move on to the bouldering competition. Recently, we had 3 schools compete, Quamachin, Shemina Secondary, and Cowichan Secondary in bouldering competition in Victoria. The event was called the Vancouver Island Chalk and Chalk 1, meaning chocolate and chalk are the prizes. Numerous Cowichan students found their place on the podium in various categories, and the next competition will be at Stellies High School, and then we may host the Island Championship in June. Nice. So that would be pretty cool to put that on our calendars. And then lastly, just a couple other items to note. This is Ron. She's doing a master's research project that has been approved by us. And the research is entitled Building a Sense of Belonging, a Vancouver Island High School Study. The research is being conducted to gain an understanding of what elements high school administrators in Vancouver Island school districts offer and consider effective in developing a sense of belonging amongst staff. The hope is that the research will help develop a better understanding of how to foster a sense of belonging amongst staff as it leads to improving student achievement. So we wish her well on her master's study project. And then just lastly,
Sorry, just quickly, yeah, we talked, I'm really excited about this, so I'm curious if we'll receive it and learn from it, you know, or how it could inform the board or the district.
yeah, through the chair. When we approve these projects, we always are there to receive the study. And so at any time any of these studies are available to us, we do go through a vetting process. They have to go through the ethical research requirements of their university, but they're always there for us. And that's why we do approve them, so that we actually have that research.
I just wondered if they could be compiled somewhere, because we do receive these, and these questions have come up before. But I think, you know, Ron resides with Rhonda's, and somebody else, they reside over there. Has there ever been any thought, or is there any possibility to collect them in one place?
When it comes to some of our stuff that we approve, we certainly could do that, and we could even look at collating that, having it there. I think that what we always want to do is make sure that if we do it, we want people to read it. So rather than having to do the work, but if there is an interest by the board that they would want to have this collated for their own reference, absolutely.
Can I make a motion, or do you just want to leave it there?
I think that the superintendent heard you.
Okay, I'll read it.
Not over to Associate.
She's nodding. Sorry.
Underneath our AP. That's wonderful. Thank you. I appreciate the interest, because I think that when we do these studies, it's a lot of work and there's a lot of research behind them, and they do add value, and it is certainly an asset. And then just lastly, by the superintendent, I get the great obligation and accountability and responsibility to approve provincial student travel. And so just to inform the board that our international student program is taking a trip to the Rocky Mountains in Lake, so they're doing a number of things. They are doing Silver Star in Vernon for snow tubing. They're going to Lake Louise, Alberta for skating and optional skiing. And they're also going to Banff from March 13th through the 16th. So they're going to have a great time, I'm sure. And that is the end of my superintendent's report. If there's not any questions, I can certainly move on.
Let's go to 7.3.1.
Okay, 7.3.1, my apologies that you did not get this in your package. It is now with you. It was to be on our board education and business committee agenda. So you would have had it in that package. It now has come to you here. And the subject of this particular one is a spelling of Cowichan Secondary School name. As all of you are aware, we are building a Cowichan Secondary School replacement building. And throughout this whole project, we've done a lot of collaboration, and we would consider Cowichan Tribe being one of our major partners around this rebuilding of the school. Also during this time, we had a number of collaborative sessions where Cowichan Tribe and elders were working with our architects and our builder to really have the prominent theme of Indigenous ways of knowing, as well as Cowichan themes to be part of the school. And so in light of that, you're going to see in this briefing note, it discusses the administrative procedure around naming of schools and facilities, and it talks a little bit about how the name of the school can enhance the sense of ownership and identification that the community has with its school. It also talks about our draft policy that's also on this agenda around identity, belonging, and connection policy, which was co-developed with a working group in the district. That was a result of the board's ad hoc anti-racism committee. And then if you turn the page on this briefing note, you'll also see that Cowichan Secondary School has been an anchor in this community for over 70 years. And it has a special place with many graduates across this community that have a deep family association as both a physical place and the concept of Cowichan Secondary. But you can also see that schools also represent another side to many in our community. And so you can see that in our country, we had an educational system that was used to destroy Indigenous knowledge and culture rather than empower it. As I look at this and see that, you can see even in the next paragraph where our Cowichan tribes talked a little bit around the fact that they would see that not renaming it, but changing the spelling of it would be something that would be of interest to them. But now this is the hard work of this board to determine whether that the spelling should remain as is, or if it should be spelling that is very different. So you can see that there are some options of some proposed designs. The one that has been there, the Cowichan Secondary, with the beautiful big logo, along with it, the anglicized name of Cowichan, but then also the name that would be the Hulkaminam spelling of Cowichan Secondary. And so the board has some options here, so I just thought I would do a bit of an overview of that. And
I'm going to ask each trustee one at a time so that we're not jumping back and forth, just so that everybody has a chance to speak. So I'm going to start with Trustee Doman. Trustee Doman, your thoughts on the name of Cowichan, or the spelling of Cowichan Secondary, please?
I really appreciated when this came to the table, as when my grandfather came here, my parents were up in the valley, subject to a lot of racism, having anglicized a lot of their names to try and fit in to the community. And this came through a few weeks ago to get back to the real spelling and pronunciation of what it actually is versus what somebody can't pronounce that, so we'll just shorten it up and mess with it. And so really, thank you.
Trustee Thorne.
I'm really torn. I'm really torn. Cowichan has been standard for many, many years. We've had a lot of people go through it. And when we look at Cowichan, though I love that because I am Cowichan, I see the village site, burial grounds, stuff you guys don't. So I'm very torn. To be honest with you, I'm gonna be honest. I'm satisfied with either. And I'm being as very neutral as possible. I have kids that graduated from Cowichan High. And I'm really proud of that. I think of Lucha, who sat here. I think of all of the First Nations that sat at this table and how they would say Cowichan. So I'm really torn, and I'm going to go with the majority of you to be fair. It's just what I have in here. I love either one. It still represents me. Chief or the school. Then I want to see all the math shapes to reflect that.
Trustee Thorne. Trustee Croft.
We went through a process in an old neighborhood of mine where we changed the name of a park that was named after somebody that nobody had no idea who they were, and they had moved on long ago. And so we went through all the hoops and we thought we were well in the clear, but no. So people do react, whether it's a good name or a bad name, or it's one name is somehow superior. This Cowichan will mean a lot to all the people that graduated from there. By the same token, I lean towards going with Cowichan. And I would, I don't know, I mean, I would hope there's some comfort in the fact that Cowichan is the true meaning of Cowichan, and that perhaps it doesn't take too much away from people's memories. So I hope they find some comfort there. I would also hope that perhaps, should we go forward with calling Cowichan secondary, that some of the other organizations throughout our area would consider how they would like to. This has meaning to their own organizations and how they might like to handle it.
I'm a very proud graduate of Cowichan Secondary, class of '87. And I love my time at Cowichan Secondary and I love the name. However, I would be honored if my granddaughter attended Cowichan Secondary, as she has an Indigenous heritage, and I think that heritage needs to be celebrated. And it would be lovely to show our community that we've listened.
Yeah, I think for me, like the amount of consultation that the school districts put into building the school and the colors and the history, and then having a son in grade 7 who came here in grade 4, I guess it was, at Cobble Hill, and now he's at Pebble. One of the things he loved about coming to this district was having an elder and having the language opportunities and looking forward to education specific to the local Indigenous community. I think I kind of feel the same way as you. Is for my son to be able to go to a school that's using the local language. I think he likes that about this community. So I would vote for. It's still the same name. It's just used in the language that's local. So I would say with the new.
Thank you. Yes, and thinking a little bit about Trustee Croft's comments as well. Like I'm with this other organization, and so we've been wondering around changing our name from Cowichan to Cowichan, but then thinking, well, are we appropriating Ho'okaminam name without going through some sort of process with Cowichan tribes and whatnot? So we put that on hold. So here, the fact that Cowichan Tribes Vision Committee has put this forward makes me feel really good about supporting it. We're not appropriating anything like that. And it just seems, for me, something that is really solid. And it's very much in line, I think, with where the district wants to go. And frankly, like there's a new chapter for the school. What a wonderful way to mark a new chapter in the school's life and history by giving it a name which is close to the original, but is very much reflective of the land and people in which it is emerging from. So I fully support the name change to Cowichan Secondary as well.
I'm also a graduate of Cowichan Senior Secondary in 1982. Just gives you a little bit about my age. But what I think about is that is Cowichan Senior Secondary. That's its name. That's where it's been there. And that door is going to close. on that building, that place, that name. And we are starting a new school and a new place with a new name. And it could be any name, should the name have been decided to be changed to something else, you know. And so I am in favor of a new day, a new name, and recognizing where it's from, and closing the door on the old Cowichan High School.
After hearing what the board said, I need a mover, please, that the Board of Education of School District 79, Cowichan Valley, in accordance with Administrative Procedure 541, naming of schools and facilities, names the new Cowichan Secondary Replacement School, Coetzin Secondary, moved by Trustee Thorne, seconded by Trustee Souza. All those, Trustee Thorne.
Now I can tell you the truth.
Please do.
Everything. Hear what you have to say. Because we're talking about reconciliation. You know, I hear comments of people saying, oh, he just professes Indian stuff. I heard a comment earlier made about our children that never came home. Those children become seeds. And by your decision, you're helping those seeds grow. I would have been satisfied with either, but knowing how you felt and you chose that name, I decided I wanted to see how you felt about opening a new door. It was said a year ago, Robin, you were there. The door was now starting to open. You just have to start opening it more and walk through. All of you in this room have taken one big step towards that, opening that door just that much more, for better understanding. And for that, I say to all of you, thank you. And I apologize that I somewhat deceived you. I didn't want to give influence in any way of being a First Nation sitting here. Thank you.
I think that's a perfect way to call the question. Thank you, Trustee Thorne. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously, please click. Well, thank you, Trustee Thorne. All right, Secretary Treasurer 8.1.1.
Thank you. I have a number of items that were originally scheduled for the school committee BEDC meeting of a financial nature on tonight's agenda for information. So the first item that I just put up on the screen that I want to walk through with you is the year-end projection as of January 31st, 2023. What I want to note about this, the budget that we're comparing to, it is an amended budget at this point. So we did file a budget without wage increases for teachers and wage increases for USW, PB, and exempt principal vice principal group. The reason that occurred is we hadn't had the funding received yet from government. So what I have done in this particular version is we have updated the principal, vice principal, excluded salaries, and teacher salaries that were funded and included that funding. So the funding hasn't yet come in yet for hasn't come in for USW and QE, although we are implemented those bargain wage increases. So for comparative purposes, I needed to prove that the funding from the ministry was sufficient to cover the wage increases, and I can announce that it has been. So as we do the comparison here, we are within $97,000 on revenue of this amended budget. So on $99 million, we believe we will be just under that by about $97,000 at this point. So we're coming very, very close. As we walk through our salary accounts within our principal vice principal range, $6.5 million within $20,000 on projection. Teachers, $14,000, incredibly close to the line there. We'll be watching that very, very closely. That is a lot of variables depending on people that we hire. And we do have hiring changes. So teachers are at various places on a pay band, which is different than support staff. You can see the differences there for education assistants and clerical all the way down. We are currently very close to the line on casual replacements. This was as of January 31st. We'll be bringing you a February one at the BEC meeting later this month. So on all of that, on salaries on 71,847,000, we think we're to the good, about 279,000. We're to the good, about 249,000 on benefits. Utilities are running really, really close. We had made some adjustments there. And so, overall, I'm projecting a surplus of 444,000 on a $100 million operating budget at this point.
Any questions for Secretary Treasurer? Seeing none, moving on to the 2023-2024.
So the next, this is going to be hard to see. It's small numbers on a scanned document. We are required every February 15th to submit how many students do we believe are going to have in the district for the next September. And we do that utilizing Verigar data. So that's demographic data that we hire a demography company to prepare. We also looked at our exact enrollment on January 31st and rolled everybody over, looked at historical retention rates, historical FTE rates. We looked at the number of students that had signed up for kindergarten already. And then we also had the ministries data. So we kind of triangulate between those. And what it appears so far within our estimate is that we have a net change of 77 students. If you can see this number right here, as of in September, 77 students in September. The ministry had projected that enrollment would be increasing by about 65 students. So we are close. And people might ask, why is it only 77 students? There's a lot of people moving here. We don't graduate every student, and we have some of the lowest birth rates coming into elementary that we have seen since 2007 in our community. So birth rates are down. Next year's will be down again because they're based on 5 years ago, and that data is known and historical. We will wait to see what happens in the 2022 birth rates, whether that trend turns around. We've made some adjustments in relation to level 2 special needs from information from Inclusive Ed, a little bit to level 3, so dropping down there. Significant change to English language learner, how those students are going to be identified, so from 388 to 308. But seeing continued growth in Indigenous education to 1752. So this has been submitted. You're going to see me use a couple of different numbers in my next presentation and throughout budget. So 77 is what we think we're up for September, but we also have a February and a May count, and they're down a little bit because we weren't chosen as a distributed learning school. So we don't believe we're going to have the same number of DL students, distributed learning students, that we've had in previous years. So net overall for next school year, you'll see we sometimes use 55 net because we're going to drop on the Feb. And we're going to drop a little bit on the May, and it's going to offset to a 77 that we're up in September. And filed with the ministry, and our funding will be based on this. There is an opportunity for the board to resubmit these enrollments. So we learned something new that we didn't know at the time we prepared these. We'll be able to resubmit that in June. They'll be asking us for that. So I'll ask if there's any questions on enrollment projections.
Seeing none, go ahead.
Go ahead. Okay. Here we go. This is some fun business document. Annual budget preview. What are some of the things we're starting to plan for as we move into the 2023-2024 annual budget? So there's a nice report here for the board. I just want to go through some of the highlights. The board are actively starting their budget process. We have been projecting student enrollment. We're projecting the costs that of providing existing services into next year, salaries, benefits, utilities, inflation. Those are all things that are going to change. Some of those we already know. We know salaries. Well, we actually don't know salaries. Salaries are going to be a range between 5.5% and 6.75%, depending on the inflation that the province proposed for that wage increase. But we know with changing enrollment, there'll be changing staffing levels. We'll have to have more teachers for an additional number of students, for instance. We'll have more classrooms open. That means all additional custodial. We're projecting our revenues, our international student program, and our interest revenue. And every time the Bank of Canada makes a 0.25% increase in the rate, we gain about $50,000 in revenue. So we're looking at all of those items as we move forward. The board's fiscal year is July 1st to June 30th. So we are required to submit a budget by bylaw on June 30th and either have spending authority for July the 1st. But
Realistically, we need to do it sooner than that because we have staff identifications that start in May. So we will be working on the budget between now and the end of April. So let's look at our enrollment. This chart that I've just put up here shows you the projected enrollment by grade. And you can see that we have some larger student numbers in the higher grades, the grades 11 and grade 12. And that's because some students are on a multi-year graduation plan that isn't 5 years. It's not unusual to see those two cohorts being larger. If you look at the graph, it does tend to slope off a little bit. But you can see that the new learners coming in K are a little bit smaller than the learners going out. So we need families to move here in order to have enrollment growth. Because it's not happening through birth. And between September 30th and January 31st, the first 5 months of the school year, we gained about 20 students. So we are seeing a little bit of growth. It does tend to happen a little more in the summer, but we're not seeing the in-migration that boomed here 2 years ago during the COVID. So that's some of the enrollment data there. And here's where I'm using a net 55 because of this net of all the next year, we're expecting enrollment to increase again by about 39 FTE, and then it begins a pattern of stabilization. So the next chart here is to show the enrollment where we are. You can see I've gone back a long way because that's almost when the school district was at its largest, 2001 and 2002, close to 10,000 learners. And you see what happened over all those years as our community continued to grow. Our learners did not. So people were moving here, but it didn't necessarily mean children. So we saw that enrollment go down, bottom out in 2014, 2015, and then begin this period of regrowth again, but stabilizing a bit. It's not growing at the rate that it dropped through those years. So the reason that I have different colors here is those bright green bars, the three on the right, those are our projections, and this year's enrollment is not completely in, but it isn't significantly different than last year. Okay. We also project out on our unique student needs because they also generate funding. So we're seeing a bit of a peak there on our learners that have designations with funding associated with them, and then that beginning to kind of level off in our projections. And so thinking about some of our expenditures, we have funded expenditures. The support staff and teacher collective agreements are settled, and that is great news. And we're settled most recently with the 2 support staff unions in January. So these are just really settled, and teachers were a little bit earlier than that. But there's wage increases between 5.5 and 6.75 to be determined in the next budget year. I believe we're going to find that out this week. What it actually is. So we will build a budget with the appropriate wage increases, and that is to come with funding. So we saw that this year's was funded. We don't yet know about next year's until the funding announcement comes in, but this year's was a good thing. There are also principal and vice principal and employees not covered by collective agreements that may also be entitled to increases. So we haven't received any information yet on that, whether they are. I would expect they will be, otherwise you'd have significant compression between a vice principal and a teacher, but we're waiting for that information to come in. This year, for the first time ever, it was funded. Never before, in my 20 plus years service. So I got funding for those employee groups. Fingers crossed that comes in again. Not funded, the district teacher average salary. So we have a lot of teachers that haven't been here for 10 years, and they go up on the bands or they find those funds. But sometimes that's offset by the number of teachers that leave the system through retirement and are replaced by a less expensive teacher. Post-pandemic, we have seen a really significant rise in replacement costs just for employees. I think we'll need to anticipate that trend will continue next year. Employee candidate pension rates are changing. We're about to get a new ceiling introduced in January 1st of 2024. So if an employee earns over $66,000, they will continue to pay CPP until that new forward is determined. And so that's some of our higher paid staff members. So that's coming in. WorkSafe rates. We know that our 2022 WorkSafe year was 3 times worse than the 2 before it as far as claims rates. And that now comes into our experience rating. And so we are going to be looking at what we project those rates to be moving into the next budget year, but it is going to have an impact.
We also can say that it wasn't, I don't think I had it at the time that this came in, unless it's actually it's probably a bit further down. We also have capital components. We need to look at some portables for the growth at Francis Kelsey. Some of our inflationary items, we had a benefit premium holiday this year that isn't likely to happen next year. We have already learned that QP and USW benefit rates will increase by 12 and 4.6% respectively. I think we can anticipate that with the absenteeism being up, so is the use of medical and use of health benefits. Probably going to be the same for the teachers and exam staff, and we'll wait to get those in. Fuel rates remain to be high, but now appear to have stabilized. And inflation rates are beginning to slow down, but there's still putting a lot of pressure on our supply and service budgets. And then there's some other considerations as we go through budget. The board has strategic priorities, and those are all related to early learning and literacy initiatives. There's lots of work that's been done there. The Ministry of Education became the Ministry of Education and Childcare on April 1st, 2022. That childcare policy is still under development, but we're encouraged to expand our offerings for out-of-school care and childcare programs. So we'll be looking at what the budget implications can be there. We typically have a couple of trades positions. There are 8 trades positions that exist in our capital budget. And the more we have in capital, the less we have doing maintenance. So we need to think about the balance there and the risk to our facilities of continuing to have that split in that particular way. We'll bring proposals related to that. And of course, school supply allocations are based on FTE, and that number's gone up, so we'll see that there too. And reconciliation continues to be a priority of the board. So we do have a little savings, $132,000 for the election. It was in this year's budget, but doesn't need to be in next year's, so we'll come out of the rollover. But, I want to state that we're very reliant on the funding that comes from the Ministry of Education and Childcare, about 98%. That's going to come in on March 15th. It's going to be based on that enrollment that I just reviewed. So then ongoing, we're going to continue to receive transportation funding to offset fees that were once charged in this district. We're going to continue to receive pay equity, which was about a 20-year-old program to ensure there was equity among the workforce. International student program, their enrollment appears to have been stabilized. The limitation they have is the number of homestay families that are available. Mentioned already about investment revenue, unknown grants. When I wrote this, we didn't really know about what was happening with the Student and Family Affordability Fund, and it appeared that that new food announcement is likely going to replace it. And when we do our quick math on the $212 million for food, if we're 1.5% of the province, that could be $3 million over those years. Maybe that would be officially announced. We adopted this year's budget using $2,016,000 of prior year unrestricted surplus, and we still have $4 million left at the end of our projection, and we're anticipating $400,000. So to date, there's been the budget guiding principles have been adopted. There's been a budget survey that is now closed, and the information is just following this report. A series of liaison meetings with partner groups. Tomorrow there's another one, which is with the Indigenous Education Council, where we'll get some additional feedback. We've gone to advisory committee and talked about budget assumptions, and we had a public meeting that had about 10 people attend. And so next steps is we'll just continue to receive the funding, work on the budget estimates, and hopefully at the March 28th EEBC meeting, bring you a opening budget position, so you know where you're at, and then we have all of April to solve the puzzle.
Thank you. Any questions for Secretary Treasurer?
This is so good. Thank you so much. I can't tell you how much I think this. So thank you. Question around assumptions with regards to the birth rates and whatnot. And I'm wondering, and maybe it's negligible, but there are also kids that are birthed outside the district but that live here as well. So how is that? Like, do you get that from Census Canada? Like, how does what's that piece?
Yeah. So the company that does our demographics, Beauregard Demographics, every child that's born in the province or anywhere has the parents have an address or the birth mother has the address. That address has a postal code. So if a child is born in Vancouver, but the address of the parent is here, it's counted in our projections of births for the Cowichan Valley. So it captures them in that way, and it'd be the same
be the opposite, a child that the address of registry is out of our school district that might be more at the Cowichan Hospital isn't in our data set. So they are captured in that manner.
Thank you.
And they're also able to look, they get into CRA data, Canada Revenue Agency, and it doesn't have the individual's name on it, but everybody who files a child tax credit, I have a 2-year-old and I live in this particular postal code. We know that 2-year-old is in 3 years likely to attend elementary school. So we also have that data in our demographics. It's very sophisticated and it gives us a pretty reliable projection around our intakes with kindergarten and around our school populations and what's coming in a particular catchment area.
Any other questions? Trustee Kraft?
It's a little bit off to the side, but I noticed that we're going to be increasing our school populations a little bit next year and a significant amount the following 2 years. Are we looking at finding some space for those kids? It's really up to the balance at this point.
They're trending towards secondary. So we have built a new high school that has some space, and Chemainus isn't at full capacity and Lake Cowichan isn't, but the challenge will be Francis Kelsey, which is where the board has already planned for 2 portables for next year to start to begin to address it.
Any other questions regarding the budget presentation? No? Moving on.
If I could just ask, I think we may go past 6 p.m. and we need a motion to go past 6 p.m. So I just want to keep that in mind.
Yes, let's keep going and see what happens.
Okay. Next part I have here is the budget feedback survey. It is in your package. I'm just going to bring it up here on the screen, shrink it a little bit so everybody can see it. So the survey went out to our community and has come back. It had 114 respondents. Greg Russell, our Director of Communications, put together this overview. 2020, 2021, it had 108, so it's been hovering around that level as far as responses in relation to the budget. So on the question, what best describes your connection to the school district? Mostly parents, but you can see somebody may be both of those, or maybe a parent and a community member. You may have tagged more than one. I think you guys can do that. So this is a data set. And so there are questions that were asked in relation to the board's strategic priorities. So I'm going to read all the questions. It's here for you to have for information. I just wanted to show, that it is laid out. There were questions that were asked, and then the respondents and how popular the questions are. We'll be linked with the graph on the bottom you see there. So some people skip questions, some people answer questions, and it's here for your information.
Thank you. I know I'm asking a lot of questions, and thanks for your indulgence in this. But yeah, I thought I read somewhere that there were a number of sort of responses that were deemed inappropriate. Was that in relation to this, or was that something else? And if it wasn't in relation to this, is that factored into 115, or are both solid, acceptable responses?
It's a different document that went to trustees only.
Okay, sorry, I've been reading a lot today. Okay, gotcha. Okay, so.
Moving on to identity, belonging, and connection policy. We're all familiar with the new policy that began with the board's ad hoc anti-racism committee and then pivoted into the policy 25 identity on there. Familiar with the working group that worked on the policy, and it has come in a different form for board consideration.
Trustees, any questions, comments? Trustee Dillman?
I'd just like to make that motion. The identity, belonging, and connection points.
Do we have a seconder? Trustee Susan? Any conversation on the motion? Trustee Dillman?
So we put this on hold while we could see if this aligned with the province's new, well, how did it align with the province's new policies?
Superintendent? Okay.
Thank you for the question. I really appreciate that. So their strategy was not really a policy, but it's more of a process. And so I think, if I could be so bold, I'd say that, our policy is very contextualized and forward facing, I will say. Because I think that what we added in here at the request of the board around the preamble, how it was drafted, but also what it means and how we actually approach our own identity, that sense of belonging and that connection. And, I think that it's a great question, but theirs was a bit of a different strategy. It wasn't so much about policy. But it is definitely in alignment and even more forward facing.
Trustee Thorne. You had your hand up? Nope. Superintendent, if you could please send the board's thanks and appreciation to your group that put this together. I know that there was a lot of people involved, and we're very thankful for the work that's been done on behalf of the district, and very deep appreciation. A motion on the table. All those in favor? Okay, unanimously, please. Moving on. Committees and outside organizations, we have the highlights of the February 9th, 2023 DSEC meeting of the Board of Education. District 79 receives the highlights of the February 9th, 2023 DSEC meeting, moved by Trustee Lise. Sorry. Seconded by Trustee Thorne. All those in favor? Thank you. That the Board of Education of School District 79 Cowichan Valley received the highlights of the February 21st, 2023 Advisory Committee meeting, moved by Trustee Croft, seconded by Trustee Sousa. All those in favor? That the Board of Education of School District 79 Cowichan Valley received the minutes of the February 16th, 2023 DPAC meeting, moved by Trustee Lise, seconded by Trustee Doman. All those in favor? That the Board of Education of School District 79 Cowichan Valley receives the highlights of the February 25th Provincial Council meeting, moved by Trustee Croft, seconded by Trustee Strachan. All those in favor? Thank you. And now we come to the Vista Spring Conference. So I'm just going to give a couple of notes, and if anybody else that was in attendance would like to talk, that'd be great. There were some policy conversations around there you go. We had David doing our traditional welcome. We had Hereditary Chief Rob Everson have a really honest conversation with us, which I think it was wonderful. We talked a lot about the Indian Act and how racist the Indian Act itself was. Is? Sorry? I guess that's just me being hopeful, right? We talked about the origin of the story and how important the origin of all stories are. We had SC70 Pacific Rim do a presentation on where they're at with Indigenous education and what's happening in their district. We had a wonderful presentation from a K1 class who drummed for us, and I gave everybody in the room a gift, which I hung on my rearview mirror. And it was just wonderful. It was just a wonderful moment where kids were there for all of us. And then, of course, next day was just our business meeting. So, trustees that were in attendance, would you like to add anything to our weekend together? Trustee Croft.
How do you read my mind like that?
I'm just going to go around to everybody.
I'm special. They did a little around the room Northeast this week, and I was really actually kind of heard that the consistency of people's values and of course their commitment to the kids, but also a good many of their what's the word? The things that they're placing emphasis on, like the items in their strat plan, a lot of similarity in all of the districts. They may have been voiced slightly differently, but they're all looking out for
for nation when it comes to reconciliation and for our future when it comes to equity for our children.
Trustees, before I ask the other three of you that were in attendance, I need a motion to extend the meeting, please, till 6:30. Trustee Doman, all those in favor? Trustee Shannon, would you like to add your thoughts?
Yeah, sometimes it's not until you get in a group with other districts across your area that you realize how fantastic the district you work in. So I would second that same comment and how proud it is to when I hear what other areas of the island are doing and recognizing that we're doing that and even better. You don't want to be boasting, of course, but and the fact that one district one area that we sat with has a major budget crunch that they're undergoing, it makes you realize that sitting in a surplus, that there's obviously been really good leadership and really good strategy around budgets and HR and planning. So every time I go to one of the meetings, I come back realizing I'm sitting in a fantastic district that does amazing things. So that's what I really took away. It was a great meeting. Yeah, you guys do great work.
Trustee Sousa.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a wonderful meeting. I love listening to what all the districts are doing on the island and the commonalities there and different approaches and yet commonalities. And the fact that some are also working on climate change, and that's like, okay, I need to remember you, and I need to remember you and you around that, and sort of thinking I've had around developing an island-wide kind of approach on climate action. So anyway, I just loved it. And also the emphasis early on truth before reconciliation as well. It's such a good reminder, an important reminder for those of us as settlers. Like there's a really big piece, and as important as reconciliation is, truth before that. And so it just really grounded me as well. It's an awesome reminder. So it was just wonderful. Great gathering. Thank you.
Trustee Lise.
So not only do we have the opportunity to learn from our colleagues across Vancouver Island, but we have those times to spend with each other. And I know we missed Trustee Dobin and Thorne, but our opportunity to share a meal and just have that part of our weekend. My biggest takeaway: listen 4 times, talk once. And that the other thing that I learned was that there are some districts that were in a terrible place, in a world of hurt. And through insight and innovation, they have managed to create something new and better. And so when the times get tough and we get frustrated, I know that there are other districts out there that have found many ways to resolve their challenges, and we can take that with us.
Thank you. Trustee Thorne.
I apologize, I wasn't there to allow you. I wasn't feeling very well. I'm still not feeling very well. But I did forward information to you, and there was a couple of things I didn't put in there. One is because federal people call us Indigenous and provincial people call us Aboriginal. We at UCSD Indigenous Education, and with all nations agreeing, want to be formally known as First Nations, because we know that Indigenous and Aboriginal are going to end up in court. So until then, we prefer First Nations. Knowing what New Chelmsford has gone through and being a small part of it meant a lot that you guys were there. I had a conversation with Chief Sayers. She's overall director for all 14 nations on the proper things that needed to happen with a local education agreement. It's a live and learn situation. So I'm really happy that we do things the way we do.
Trustee Thorne, just so you know, that report that you sent me, I shared with the rest of the board, and also from BCST and your First Nations committee. We're sorry that you weren't able to make it, and hope that you feel better soon and that you were missed, and that they were nervous about speaking for their body. So just so you know.
And just so you know, I woke I was really surprised when a truck came into my yard with all of this food. I want you to know that those sandwiches were cut in half and distributed to the homeless. And thankfully, he sent a gigantic platter of vegetables, so it was a matter of getting some hamburger potatoes. And we made a soup that went to almost 100 people. The food was distributed to those that we knew that were diabetic. The pastries didn't get past my grandchildren.
Well, that's good. And we're, on behalf of the district, we're just glad that you're okay.
I should get sick more often.
All right, moving on, 10.1, schedule of upcoming meetings. Anybody see anything that graduation events added to this now that that's been announced? Please. Anybody see anything that might have been missed? Trustee Doman?
And we're still meeting on Tuesday, the
Okay. We're planning to.
We're planning Tuesday the 14th.
Yep, it's in the schedule.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, spring break.
Yeah, great. That's
Sorry,
right.
I'm to the chair.
Okay, thank you for the query. I don't think we would have been here.
Thank you for checking with that, Trustee Doman. Good catch. Any other? Seeing none. Moving on to correspondence, old business, question period. Mr. Secretary Treasurer, do we have any questions that have gone?
Well, we have this opportunity now to ask for questions. We do have a virtual audience of attendees. There is a question and answer box available for you to type a question in for the board. Please put your name, address, and the item on the agenda that your question relates to. We'll wait a few moments to see if any questions come in.
So we do have a new policy 7, which does ask that the gallery please write their question with their information. We will recognize the faculty.
Just because you're looking at your schedule of upcoming committee meetings and what have you, you did miss feedback, which we're not having one for March, but we will have our April 20th meeting.
So thank you for catching.
Missed that one.
Any other questions? Well, seeing that we have no questions in question period, motion for adjournment. Moved by Trustee Sousa, seconded by Trustee Doman. All those in favor? Thank you very much, everybody. Have a wonderful evening.